didn't grow up being a big horror fan. I mean, I was way more of a comedy fan, and so when I was approaching this movie, I studied up as much as I could. But the movie that I thought it held the greatest sort of thematic relationship with was American Werewolf in London. And so I asked if I could take John Landis out for lunch, and I went.
I ask that every week. They never call me back.
So he indulged me, and I took him to Nate and Al's, and we had like a 3-hour conversation. I just really, love all his movies. Like, I think he's actually my favorite filmmaker. And so to get to talk to him and have him impart, I was like, anything? Come on, I'm about to make my first movie. Like, help me out here.
He's notorious for being really supportive of young filmmakers.
He
really
is super thorough, and was also like so generous about just talking in general terms about the balance between horror comedy, which is a hard one to walk, and a lot of people misstep, I think, trying to make it. So I felt very lucky to get him to just sit down with some guy he never heard of before and help me out.
No, I mean, well, Planet Terror, I mean,
it's
kind of a love letter to horror films.
Yeah, it's not straight horror.
No, I guess not.
Yeah.
You don't.
That would be fun to do. I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
Dusk Till Dawn gets pretty damn close.
That was
arguing with the director that his films are horror films.
It's such a fun movie. It's such a fun movie. I mean, it's so hard to go shoot in the morning. You got to wake up early because the crew likes to get up early. I like to get up late. I like to shoot at night. But they're like, hey, up in the early morning, I have to drive across L.A. to go to this location. I'm just bummed and pissed. I'm sleepy. And you get there. All right, what are we doing? And literally the day was, well, we have a whip around Tom Savini's neck. They're going to pull his head off. It's going to roll across the floor. Juliette Lewis puts her foot on it, puts an arrow in it, and kicks it into the camera. I was like, oh, okay. That's not a bad morning. So every day was like Disneyland on that movie. So when you're doing that kind of horror, it's actually fun as someone who has to work on the movie day in and day out, that I kind of tend to make things a little more fun.
Some of the nicest people I've ever met are horror directors. That there does seem to be a really cool community out there that we all kind of chat to each other and hang out together and stuff like that, and exchange ideas and support each other, and sometimes like screen our films in early cuts and things like that, and get responses from each other. And like you say, somebody like Landis, or I've been lucky enough to have a chat with Carpenter as well, and people like Mick Garris are just really keen to support up and coming filmmakers like ourselves. So.
I also think a lot of time, not all the time, but a lot of times people that make horror movies start in a very low budget world or even a no budget world, which is what I did. And so a lot of people around me who also did that, that's very supportive, because we've all like come from nothing and we've all struggled and we've all had the similar fights, and that support group, because making a film is really traumatic in my experience. And so to have people around that are like nice people, like Neil's saying, and people that are like, they want to see your movie and they want you to get your movie made. That's like so few and far between, that the people that are like that, which in my opinion is a lot of horror people, maybe it's because the movies are edgier or something, I don't know, but they it's like I said, it's very traumatic. So to find like-minded people that are like, that want to help and they don't want to put their agenda on you, they actually want you to succeed, is just in life very rare. So if you can find it, I think it's pretty great.
There's this group, and it's John Landis and Tobe Hooper and Mick Garris and Stephen King sometimes, Frank Darabont. They get all these guys together, and it's called, and Guillermo del Toro. I think they were having dinner one time, and somebody gave one of them a compliment, and I think Guillermo del Toro started. He said, "The Masters of Horror, thank you." So from that point on, that was born that they would then be known as the Masters of Horror. And every once in a while, every month or every 2 months, they'll send a mass email out to all the horror directors and say, come join us for a Masters of Horror dinner in Los Angeles, usually like Hamburger Hamlet or one of those. And you get to go sit with all these cats and just talk horror movies. So I'll rope you guys in. You guys got to come and be part of that, because I miss it sometimes because I live here. But whenever I try to go, it's always a great time.
You guys think that in general horror films can sometimes tackle topical or controversial issues that other films, maybe dramas or comedies, cannot?
Certainly people have written dissertations about zombies as an allegory, and just kind of expressing the latent fears of people in their time. And while Zombieland was a comedy, I think people have a lot of fear about the future and the apocalypse, and there's a lot of global warming and everything else. And so we tried to kind of seed that in a little bit.
I had actually written the first part of Planet Terror like 10 years ago. So when it came time to do this one, the war had just started, and I thought that'd be a great tie-in. is to have Bruce Willis be the guy who killed Bin Laden, because at that time he had escaped, no one could find him, and I thought, how cool would it be if the audience finds out that he's already dead, but it's kept a secret, and the guy who killed him is Bruce Willis.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the whole fun, for me personally, I mean, look, I think when you're set out to make something, you always have to have your own personal secret, your own thing that sort of drives you in. No matter what the film's about, you have to find your way of doing it. And the thing about genre that I think is so cool is that while, like we did Cloverfield, giant monster movie, well, okay, but the fun of it is that you get to smuggle in all of this other stuff. And, you know, I mean, obviously, I think it's two things. On the one hand, you're smuggling in the other hand, you are a product of the time that you're in. So all those Red Scare films, you know, are they about, you know, that's the anxiety of the time. So they reflect that, whether intentional or not. But I think the fun of genre is that you can bring those things in, and you can bring in your real anxieties. And it's a place to put them up there and to play with them. And so I think, you know, in Cloverfield, obviously, we were, you know, obviously Gojira, the original Godzilla, was an allegory for the time, and we were certainly aware of that when we were doing Cloverfield, and the way in which I think you can explore that in the safe environment of, oh, but this is also just a fun movie. I think it's one of the great things about genre, is that it's a way to smuggle in real stuff in the guise of entertainment, and I think that that is a very exciting thing, and it's one of the things that shows the power of film.